You now are listening to the audio podcast of Prisoners of Hope, the antidote to what ails your heart. I'm your host, Dr. Debbora Whitson. So come on in, pull up a chair, and open up your mind as you get ready to receive the download that hope will bring. Hey, welcome to the Prisoners of Hope podcast with Dr. D. And today I've got a special treat. I have two close dancing friends. We all dance Zumba, and we're going to have a conversation about pathway allies, people who come and they help you along the way. You might not even remember that they came and helped you, but they helped you along the way. So first, I want to introduce Chris Plant. Say hi, Chris.
Hello.
And Chris and I have been knowing each other. We're both older, so we can't remember how many years. It's somewhere between 7, 4, 5, 6, or 7 years. We can't remember.
Hey, you speak for yourself. I'm eternally young here.
Okay. Oh, because you're eternally young and your memory is fading. I can't remember. But we've been knowing, let's say at least 4 years, okay? At least 4
Yes,
years.
yes.
Been longer than that. And the next guest is Jenny Clark. Say hi. Hello, Jenny.
Hello.
And Jenny, I've only known Jenny for about, here I go, about a year, but her and Chris have known each other much, much longer.
Yes.
And we all dance together. We all act crazy and have a good time in Zumba. We all exercise. And like I said, this is the fourth entry in a series called Pathway Allies, Pathway Stories, stories of your pathway as you walk along the way. And God said that He is not a God of slumber. He won't slip, He won't fall. So He won't let you slip or fall. And so He will send people to help you. So that's what we're going to talk about. First of all, I want to go to Chris and ask Chris, are there times in your life when people came along and helped you?
Yes. I guess if you want to talk about the hardest time in my life, it would be
Yes.
when I lost my daughter. My daughter
Mhm.
died. And this was going on, it'll be 16 years in October. I was fortunate to be blessed with my husband and my son and daughter-in-law and a new grandbaby at the time that helped a lot. But I also am blessed to have two friends that are therapists, and I would highly recommend that to have therapist friends, and they really help. They really helped me through that period of, it was pretty dark. It was a very, very difficult time. I think one of the hardest things was I didn't know anybody else who had lost a child, and so I
Mhm.
couldn't, reach out to anybody to give me words of wisdom. However, since that time, I do want to mention, because there is an organization that I think very highly of now. It's called Helping Parents Heal. So it's helpingparentsheal.org. And it's out of Arizona. And they do wonderful things to help. They specifically help if someone has had a child pass. And so I would highly recommend. And now if I know somebody, I always recommend them, because it's just a really, they're very good at helping parents, to get back their joy, and get back to their life as their loved
Mhm.
ones would want them to do. But
Mhm.
it's a hard process.
Well, when you talk about your daughter, you helped me, and Chris had completely forgotten that she had told me about her daughter.
Yeah,
That's
I
that's your eternal, youth behavior. she, she was like, "Oh, I told you about my daughter." Well, when I met Chris, my son had been shot like the week before. and I went to the Zumba class. I never danced Zumba, and I was sitting there, 24-hour fitness. No plug for that business, but that's where we were dancing. And Chris said some words that really, really helped me and brought me back to myself because I was having a hard time because my son had just been shot. So she really helped me. So the pain that she had experienced in the past really helped me to move forward.
Wow.
Jenny, 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 same question. Are there people who came along your path and helped you move down the road of life?
Well, I'm actually a big believer in the synchronicity of God in everything I do.
Yeah.
Um, I'm adopted, and kind of an interesting story. My adopted parents were just going to have we're just going to foster a child. They weren't going to adopt. And my birth mother was actually had me set up for a private adoption, and the private adopt she decided at the last minute to turn it into a state adoption. And then my parents at the same time got notification that there was a foster child. And then at the last minute my dad's like, I can't just keep a child for a short period of time, we got to adopt. And so they ended up adopting me. And so I really believe there was synchronicity involved with everything. There were two different things that had to change in order for me to become their child. And I've also seen, uh, felt a lot of synchronicity and healing, and having people come to my mom's life who was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Mhm.
I saw synchronicity work in her 21-year journey. Um, Many, many times. So I believe that all you have to do is put your heart out there and ask, and the
Mhm.
resources come to you.
Now, isn't that interesting? She said you have to put your hand out and ask, or make a statement, or talk to somebody. Because I don't. When I met Chris, I knew nobody in Colorado. Okay,
Wow.
and I don't know what made me start talking, and then she started sharing. And just the other day, just recently, I think we all three can remember this, especially Jenny. I was very upset because the same boy, he has post-traumatic stress real bad, and I was concerned about him having to be put under to get some dental work done. And Jenny, I said something, and Jenny was like, "Oh, I know a perfect place." and and I mean, I was really stressed about that. Isn't that interesting?
Mhm.
It's kind of like that, like there is a God directing things because we're
That's
there.
right.
We're there to dance Zumba. We're not there to talk about, getting your teeth pulled or your teeth worked on. And I just mentioned something, and she said, "Oh yeah, I really know this place." Now, what Jenny failed to mention is that she used to work there.
I used to manage it. I
Yeah.
actually was the manager.
She didn't mention that to me. I'm like, well, everybody knows Jenny. And one girl says, yeah, she used to work here. I'm like, oh, okay. They're like, tell her I said hi. But isn't that it? Is that a coincidence? Suppose if coincidences are miracles.
Well, I think we have human angels that are
Right.
coming to our life, and some of them stay longer than others. But I think that that's part of that synchronicity too. When you put an intentional thought out there of a need or a place that you want to go, the resources and the opportunity presents itself. And I think sometimes we underestimate that power of
Yeah, I
being able
agree.
to set intention, you
Yeah,
know, of what you need and want in your life. And
yeah,
it could be in healing, it could be in friendship, it could be in healing a relationship. But the resources always seem to come once you put your heart out there and kind of declare your intention. And I work with intentions every day, actually, as a part of my daily practice.
right.
So what do you do for your daily practice?
It's interesting. I'm a huge researcher. Like I've even done like testing for businesses that I've gone to work for, and I'm always very high on the deep down researcher person.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I had a good friend that gave me a blank journal, and when
Hmm.
I was I used to teach at 24 Hour Fitness. I used to teach yoga. Um, and ever since she gave me that book, I write down intentions. I write down quotes.
Mhm.
Um, I one of the latest ones I got was actually from a yoga master that said one of his intentions that he says daily is I banished every trace of ill health from my body, affirming that I am in the image of God, perfect and whole. And so I find things like that and I work with intentions every day and I try and do them before I go to sleep at night because when we are dropping into sleep is when we're most open
Mm-hmm.
to that connection. So,
Well, you know, it's very interesting because one of the things that you do as you walk your path, you have to notice people around you because you're there to help people, to receive help. And one day Jenny came in and I looked at her and I said, "What's wrong with you?" Because she had been crying. You remember that day? And you was told me that your mother had passed
mhm.
and that her father was a military guy, so was mine. Do you think this is coincidence? He's stubborn and difficult, so was mine. So was mine. And I asked her, "How's your dad?" She goes, "Oh, he's dad." I said, "Oh, I understand." I mean, isn't that interesting? Do you think this is a coincidence or it is made so we can help each other and we can understand each other? You know, Chris, you said something very interesting. You said, "I didn't know where to go because I didn't know anybody that had a child that was gone, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that died."
Yeah. Right.
And I was kinda told Chris, but I think we started dancing, couldn't finish, but I was kinda telling her, well, I felt the same way because I've had 3, critically injuring accidents of my children. And I
Yeah.
remember telling, you know, God, because I do pray, and like, no one, no one wants to be my friend. No one's gonna
Oh,
understand me. You know, no one's gonna understand me. And I go to this marriage thing. I drag my husband to this marriage thing, and it's in this woman's house. Her name is Debbie. And I just knew I didn't know anybody but the girl who invited me because our kids went to the same Christian school, and she invited me, and it saved a seat for me, and I didn't know anybody there, and she knew that Chris had been shot. It had been all over the school. Chris is my son, had been shot, and and so I guess she was watching me. You know how women watch other women? I sit there,
yeah.
I'm looking at all the pictures, and my eyes fall on a picture that has 4 boys in it
Hmm.
and her husband. And I must have been thinking, oh God, she's so blessed. Look at her children, they're uninjured, they're blah, blah, blah. And so the girl who brought me, she leaned over and whispered, she buried 3 of those boys. She
Oh,
buried. And I was like, oh, what? 3? Because I've had 3 incidents. Now, is that a coincidence? Because the
my.
day before, maybe 2 days before, I was talking to God about no one's gonna understand. And here he brought someone in my life, and I believe he brought her into my life that had buried 3 kids. And she had the joy of God in her, and her husband and her were, you know, romantic and kissing. And I'm thinking, What's happening here?" Because my
Yeah.
husband and I were arguing and fighting. so, so how did you, Chris, how did you move through that with your husband after your daughter passed? Was that difficult?
It it was, I think I shared this with you, Deborah, that
Yeah.
I I we happened to be watching a movie about a year after she had passed, and it was about a couple who had lost somebody, and they the one turned to the other and said, "I've lost my joy, haven't I?" And it that really hit me because I realized in that moment that that was me. I had really lost my joy. I was able to continue to work, and I even was teaching at that time a class called laughter yoga after all. But I was able to go through the motions, but I wasn't really myself, I wouldn't say. And I realized that was what was missing. The joy was gone, and I from that day I realized that that was not what my daughter would have wanted for me. And
Mhm.
so I put my big girl pants on and said, come on, you got to get through this and bring your joy back. And that I think that helped a lot just to get to that point and realize, because I think, you can stay in grief way too long, and I don't think it serves anybody really. But it is, it's a hard thing. And as a parent, there's part of you that feels like when she died, there was part of me that felt I should go with her. That's my baby, and yet, I knew I had my husband and my son and my daughter-in-law and grandchild, which helped me to balance a little better and realize that no, this, I need to stay here. But it was, you, as a parent, you just want to know that your child is okay and where they are, and are they okay. And I think that's why this organization, Helping Parents Heal, they do a really good job of working with them, with the parents. And sometimes, and I think it does really help a person just to be able to know that they're at a place, and that, and just to feel that comfort that that they're okay. Especially a parent, I think it's just so hard for us, um, because they're our babies, and they'll always be our babies. And so, um,
Well, I hope you really enjoyed the first part of that interview, Pathway Encounters. People along the way that can help you to keep your feet from slipping. They give you just that push at the right time. See you next time. God bless. My hope is that this journey has been fruitful and you're able to take it and apply it to your life. Until next time, tune in again for the Prisoners of Hope podcast. God bless.